Today, we're discussing mediation, and here to talk to us is California attorney and mediator Lisa Zonder. So, Lisa, tell us why a couple in California might choose mediation over court. What are some of the benefits? How does mediation work?
Okay, thank you, Jen. Great questions. Glad to be here today to provide some general educational information. I want to make sure the audience understands this is not specific legal advice or anything like that, and certainly not meant to be informative for those out of the state of California. So, a couple things about mediation that are important to know. When a couple comes into a divorce mediator, what they're doing is not going to court, right? They're making that decision to meet privately, either through Zoom or in a conference room, and they are really taking control over their own pace of mediation. They have complete flexibility. They're not being told, hey, you have to come to court on this particular day. And the timeline and the sequencing of how mediation works is going to vary couple to couple. Some people work fairly slowly and methodically and organized, and they take their sweet time. Other people, it's like, can you have us done yesterday? And so you'll get both types. In terms of what are the hallmarks of mediation, so things to know about mediation when you're coming in to the mediator, it's confidential process as a general rule. Sometimes there are exceptions created by the legislature. I'm not going to go in. This is not a technical course here, not being taught to mediators. So I'm just going to say that generally what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas has a cliche. And the mediator acts as a neutral. That means that they're basically facilitating the proposals back and forth from the couple. The couple creates the proposals. Okay, the mediator does not. The mediator isn't going to review all of your documents and tell you how to settle your case. That's not what they do. There is, before you get into mediation, hopefully before you have your first session, you would have financial documents exchanged, and that would be the income and expense form that lists out what income and expenses the person has. So that would be a roadmap on the how to pay child support or spousal support side, and how the income would play out inside the decision making in the mediation process. And the same thing is true with this other mandated form, which is the FO 142 Schedule of Assets and Debts, which I've alluded to in some other discussions that you and I have had for online education. And once those two financial forms are done, the disclosures is what we call them, the preliminary disclosures at least. They're done informally, they're exchanged, and then they could be used as a roadmap for the couple to be able to settle their case. The couple takes that into the documents into the mediation session, either via Zoom or in the mediator's office, and they're encouraged basically to have independent consulting mediation attorneys on the outside so that they can figure out what they want to offer before they go into the room. That would be the ideal time to get a consulting attorney. Some people are just gonna, no, I'm not lawyering up. My spouse and I decided we're not doing that. We don't want to pay lawyers. So what they do though is, at least when they're mediating with me, if I'm the mediator, I'm going to encourage them and recommend in many cases that they have independent consulting attorneys, because as a mediator, I cannot give specific legal advice to them. So we can offer general educational information. If they ask about spousal support, we can lead them to the code just to see what it says, but they have to go to their attorney to figure out, what does this mean for me? How much would I have to pay in spousal support and child support? And so their attorneys can run the DISO master software. We could do it also inside and play with the assumptions and move them around, but they have to take them back to their attorneys to get confirmation before they make specific proposals inside the mediation room. And then if needed, oftentimes we can bring in a financial expert. So that's another hallmark of mediation. We can bring in other financial professionals to help assist the couple to be able to figure out what to do financially about home buyouts or spousal support payments or valuing businesses. Those are the common issues that come up. So let me just reiterate. The hallmarks of mediation is that you can take it at your own pace. It's got flexibility, unlike the court. Mediator's going to be a neutral, so you're still going to need to get the attorneys at least for advice on what terms you want to agree on, or having them look at the judgment of divorce. You also are going to be able to bring your financial into the room or have a consulting financial professional on the outside for yourself independently. And you can even bring in mental health professionals. You're going to exchange the mandatory financial disclosures. And then you start your negotiations. That's when they begin.